The PDF was attached to the email by mistake. It happens more often than you think. You are CC'd on a budget forecast meant for a director's eyes only, or perhaps a printer tray is left full in a shared hallway. You glance down. You see a name, someone with your exact title, perhaps hired 2 years after you, with less experience. And then you see the number next to it. That number is 20% higher than yours. The physiological response is immediate. It starts as heat in the chest and settles as a knot in the stomach. It isn't just jealousy. It is the sinking realization of a valuation error. You haven't just been underpaid. You have been miscalibrated by the system you serve. Most women respond to this moment with a retreat into silence. We are socialized to view money as a private, almost tawdry subject. To discuss it is to be rude. To demand more is to be difficult. But this silence is structural. It is a load-bearing wall in the corporate architecture. When we don't talk about what we earn, we allow the company to operate with perfect information, while we operate with none. This isn't an accident. It is designed friction. By keeping salary data in a black box, the organization maintains leverage. They know the market rate. They know the budget. They know the disparity. You only know what is on your pay stub. This imbalance is the terrain we are navigating today. It is a rigged game, but only because one side is looking at the cards and the other is guessing. Think of your department as a classic prisoner's dilemma. If you and your peers stay silent, the company wins by paying the lowest possible aggregate salary. If you speak up alone, you risk being labeled a mercenary or a disruption. But if you coordinate, if you share data, the power dynamic shifts instantly. The risk, of course, is real. The corporate immune system attacks transparency. Managers will talk about proprietary information or breach of confidentiality. These are scare words designed to keep the cost of labor down. We need to stop viewing pay discussions as gossip and start viewing them as market research. You cannot negotiate effectively in a vacuum. We need to anchor this in a concept called information asymmetry. In any transaction, the party with more information holds the advantage. Used car dealerships thrive on this. So do HR departments. Your compass for this episode is a shift in mindset. You are not an employee asking for a favor. You are a business unit identifying a pricing error. When a supplier realizes they are selling raw materials below market cost, they don't apologize. They issue a price correction. That is the logic we are applying here. We are moving away from the emotional narrative of, I work hard and I deserve this, toward the architectural reality of, the market price for this output has changed, and we need to align the contract. This brings us to game theory. In a negotiation, your power is defined by your best alternative to a negotiated agreement, your BATNA. But you cannot calculate your alternative if you don't know the score. When you operate in the dark, you settle. When you have data, you optimize. The goal today is to gather enough data points to render the company's internal salary bands irrelevant. We are going to replace their internal logic with external market reality. We are going to dismantle the secrecy that keeps your wages suppressed, not by shouting, but by bringing a flashlight into the room. Before we walk through the specific mechanics of how to uncover this data without getting fired, I want to invite you to join the PathFindHer collective. We are building a network of women who are done with the guessing games. If you want to access the templates and scripts we discuss in this episode, or if you simply need a safe harbor to verify your own market value with peers who understand the stakes, check the link in the show notes. We are mapping this terrain together. Let's look at a real-world example. I want you to meet Elena. Elena is a senior project manager at a mid-sized tech firm. She is reliable, effective, and chronically nice. She runs the projects that no one else wants to touch. During a casual coffee with a new hire, a man 10 years her junior, he mentions buying a condo in a neighborhood Elena knows she can't afford. He makes a passing comment about his mortgage approval. Elena does the mental math. The numbers don't add up. Unless he is making at least 30% more than she is, the suspicion takes root. Elena doesn't storm into her boss' office. She doesn't cry in the bathroom. She decides to run an audit. Elena creates a spreadsheet, but not on her work laptop. She builds it on her personal cloud drive. She lists roles, years of experience, and known salaries. It's mostly blank. She identifies 3 peers she trusts implicitly, her safe circle. She invites them out for drinks, individually. She doesn't ask, "What do you make?" She frames it as a collective defense strategy. She says, "I'm trying to ensure we're all calibrated to the market before the next review cycle. I'm sharing my number first. Here is exactly what I make. Does this sound aligned with what you're seeing?" By leading with vulnerability, by showing her cards first, she triggers reciprocity. One by one, the cells in her spreadsheet fill up. The pattern emerges. It wasn't just the new hire. Elena discovers that the external hires brought in over the last 18 months are all anchored at a pay band $25,000 higher than the legacy employees. The company is paying a premium for new talent while relying on the loyalty and inertia of the veterans. This is the landmark moment. The spreadsheet transforms her anxiety into evidence. She isn't feeling undervalued. She is mathematically undervalued. The emotion drains out of the situation, replaced by cold, hard strategy. She now has the internal data. But she knows that internal data is dangerous to use directly. She can't say, "I know Mark makes more than me." That's a trap. She needs external validation to make the case bulletproof. This leads us to the action protocol. You cannot rely solely on internal gossip or shadow spreadsheets. You must triangulate your value using the 3 anchor point strategy. An anchor point is a verified piece of data from the open market that defines the price of your labor. You need 3 distinct sources to create a triangulation that a manager cannot dismiss as an anomaly. If you go in with 1 number, it's an opinion. If you go in with 3, it's a market trend. We are going to secure these anchors without ever applying for a job we don't intend to take. Anchor 1 is the recruiter. You likely have recruiters in your LinkedIn inbox right now. Usually, you ignore them. Stop ignoring them. Reply to one. Get on a 15-minute call. Your goal isn't the job, it's the intelligence. The script is simple. I'm not looking to move right now, but I keep an eye on the market. For a role with this scope and these deliverables, what is the current base salary range you are authorized to offer? Recruiters are paid to know the market clearing price. They will give you a number. Write it down. That is a hard data point. Headhunters are pricing this role at X. That is your first anchor. Anchor 2 is the former colleague. Find someone who left your company in the last year to do a similar job elsewhere. They are the perfect source because they know exactly what the work entails at your current firm, and they know what the market pays outside of it. They have no loyalty to your current employer's secrecy policies. Reach out. The script. I'm doing a calibration on my role for an upcoming review. Since you've seen both sides, would you be open to sharing the salary band for your current level? I want to make sure I'm not anchoring myself to outdated numbers. This is a low-friction ask. Most people are happy to help a former peer negotiate. Anchor 3 is public data. Thanks to new pay transparency laws in states like Colorado, California, and New York, companies are now legally required to post salary ranges on job listings. Even if you don't live in those states, look for remote listings for your job title based in those locations. This gives you a public, legally binding floor. If a company is hiring a senior manager in New York for $160K and you are doing that job in Chicago for $110K, the cost of living difference does not account for a $50K delta. Print the job description. This is your third anchor. It is objective, public, and undeniable. You now have the recruiter's number, the alumni's number, and the public listing number. Average them out. This is your market rate. Notice we haven't mentioned Elena's spreadsheet or the new hire's accidental confession. We don't need to. We have constructed a reality that exists outside the walls of your office. This removes the personal conflict. You aren't complaining that your boss is unfair. You are highlighting a discrepancy between the company's internal rate and the external market rate. You are bringing the outside in. Now we enter the room. This is the terrain where most plans fall apart because the pulse races and the voice shakes. You schedule a meeting. The subject line is not salary negotiation. The subject line is role calibration and market review. You are setting the stage for a strategic discussion, not a complaint session. You bring your printed anchors. You do not bring emotion. You sit down and you frame the conversation around value retention and market alignment. You are the architect of your own career, inspecting the foundation. Here is the script. Memorize the flow, not just the words. I've been reviewing the scope of my contributions over the last year, specifically Project X and Outcome Y. In preparation for this discussion, I conducted a market analysis to benchmark this level of output. Based on data from recruiters, recent placements in our sector, and public salary bands for this title, the market clearing price for this role is currently between anchor low and anchor high. Currently, my compensation is falling significantly below that band. I'd like to understand how we can bridge that gap in this cycle to bring my package in line with market value. Silence. Do not over-explain. Do not justify why you need the money. Let the data hang in the air. The manager will likely say, "This is not in the budget," or "We are in a freeze." This is a standard defensive maneuver. Your compass here is future pacing. You reply, "I understand the constraints of the current budget cycle. However, this market gap presents a retention risk and a calibration issue. If we cannot close the full gap today, I need us to agree on a step plan. Can we map out a review in 3 months or structure a signing bonus for the renewal of my contract?" You are shifting the problem from "I can't pay you" to "How do we solve this accounting error together?" You are not asking for permission. You are negotiating a settlement. Let's thread this back to the other half of your life. Why does this matter? It isn't just about the bank balance. It's about infrastructure. When you are underpaid at work, you are subsidizing the company with your own stability. Every dollar you leave on the table is a dollar you cannot spend on domestic support, on the cleaner, the childcare, the meal prep, the systems that allow you to rest. The systemic friction of the workplace bleeds into the home. When you secure a market correction, you are buying back your own bandwidth. We need to view money not as a reward for being good, but as a tool for reducing friction. A $15,000 raise is not a luxury. It is the cost of a chaotic morning routine outsourced to a professional. It is the price of sanity. When you advocate for your salary, you are advocating for the architecture of your life. You are securing the resources required to be a mother, a partner, and a strategist without burning out. The negotiation room is where you fund the domestic peace treaty. Back to Elena. She didn't get the full match to the new hire immediately. They gave her a 12% bump and a retention bonus, with a promised review in 6 months. But more importantly, the dynamic changed. Her manager knew that Elena knew. The information asymmetry was gone. Elena stopped being the safe employee who would take whatever was given and became a market-aware asset that needed to be retained. She used the extra capital to hire a night nurse for her newborn. She bought sleep. She bought clarity. That is the win. Your path this week is clear. Stop guessing. Pick one of the anchor points. Reply to that recruiter. Text that old colleague. Search that job board. Get one number. Just one. Write it down. Feel the weight of it. That number is the truth. Everything else is just corporate policy designed to keep you quiet. You have the right to know the value of the asset you are selling every day from 9 to 5. We have covered the terrain of silence, the compass of game theory, the landmark of the Shadow Spreadsheet, and the path of the 3 anchors. I want to know which coordinate on this map resonated with you. Are you stuck in the silence, or are you ready to gather the data? Go to the PathFindHer Instagram or LinkedIn right now. Drop a comment with the word anchor if you are committing to finding your market rate this week. Let's navigate this together. I'll see you on the path.